like, comment, subscribe. By Joshua Wagner. Hi everyone. I guess some of you have probably seen this coming for a while now. And if you're new here and are just stumbling across this video, bad timing, I guess. Either way, this is it. I'm done. After all these years, I'm quitting YouTube forever. If that seems a bit extreme for you, don't worry. I'm going to explain why with this live stream I'm doing right now. I've been on YouTube almost since the beginning. First, just as a user, I was fascinated by the concept. It was like the Wild West. You never knew what you might find. There were so many people from all over the world creating unique videos because they were free to do so practically whenever they wanted. As long as the videos were less than 10 minutes long. Yes, for you young ones out there, once upon a time you had to meet certain conditions before you could upload videos longer than 10 minutes. Otherwise, you had to hack up a post in parts. But even still, I was enamored. It didn't take long before I had to join in. So, I made a channel. The very first thing I ever uploaded was... well, it was awful. I think that's true of most of us. It was just some stupid skit me and my best friend wrote and filmed in my kitchen. But somehow, it caught a little attention and the views started to climb. Not like what you'd expect today. But a few hundred views in a few days for a new channel's first video in 2006, that was something. It wasn't much, but I caught the bug. I started to chase the high. So I saved up some money, and a few weeks later bought a decent camera and started pumping the videos out, whenever I had a moment of free time. I took a writing course and downloaded better editing software. Microphones. I was starting to feel like I found my calling. Mind you, this was still before the days of the professional YouTuber, so I still had no idea where I was going with all this. I think the goal back in the day was the hope that we'd go viral and get noticed by the right people, and boom, there's a career. And for some of us, that's exactly what happened. But not for me. Over time, I had built up a solid number of subscribers. Then the partner program happened, and I was in. At first, I wasn't making that much to begin with. Pocket change, really. But it was a start. But with that came the first small change in me. Now I was starting to think, not just in terms of, hey, wouldn't this be funny to do? I'd started considering how the audience would respond. Would they like it enough to want to show their friends and share it? I started to wonder if my videos would gain me followers, or if they'd put people off and lose some. But most of the time I'd shake it off and just make what felt right. Yeah, some people it might have rubbed the wrong way, but for the most part my channel was on the rise, and the pocket change slowly became walking around money. That's how it was for a while until I managed to work up the nerve, quit my job, and do the YouTube thing full time. A lot of people thought I was crazy, and maybe I was. This was still before the full-time YouTubers were a common thing, and honestly, I wasn't entirely sure if it would actually work out or not. But I felt like I had to try. So I did. I buckled down, tightened up my act, and started putting all my effort into the channel. I still remember the first time I paid someone to act in one of my videos. Not just that, but other milestones too. Like the first collaboration I ever did. The first guest appearance I ever made. My first television interview. The first time I went to film in another country. I started to wonder if this was something like the movie stars filmed. Maybe not the same magnitude, but something similar, I thought. It wasn't easy, and I had bad days, the same as everyone else, but I was doing what I love. I couldn't ask for much more. And that's when the first problem hit. It was something I'd never even considered, but it turned out that the stock art I had been using for the thumbnails of some of my videos wasn't exactly sourced ethically. What happened was the website I got images from had just copied them off the internet from random artists and photographers and put them on their site. Well, one of the artists found out and put a legal boot up their ass. So what that meant for me was suddenly my videos were getting hit one after another. Apparently I had a preference for this one particular artist's stuff. A lot of those videos were big earners and they were falling like leaves, and at the time I didn't know why. All I knew was that they'd been struck for copyrighted content, and YouTube wasn't telling me what the copyrighted content was. It wasn't until I asked around online and found out about the scandal with the stock images site that I was able to figure out what was happening. It took a while to fix, but I was lucky that it happened before the 3-strike police was put into place, because that hit about 30-something videos of mine all at once. So I learned my lesson and started either making my own thumbnails or hiring artists to make them for me, if the situation called for it. It was stressful, yeah. But it happened to other YouTubers, so it wasn't like they were being dicks and coming for me specifically. In the end, I just kinda waved it off and chalked it up to cost of doing business. Sometimes shit happens, right? At least that's what I kept telling myself. You see, when you look up the history of YouTube and the changes it's made since the beginning, you'll usually find stuff like when they added new resolution options, or when they changed the player, added the full screen mode, started the partner program, dropped certain features like video responses, friends, things like that, you know? Well, what doesn't usually get listed is what we on the platform officially call the adpocalypse. This wasn't really any particular moment in time, but rather a rapid series of changes in content policies over a short period of time. Now what that meant, and why it has such a fire and brimstone name, is because channels and videos and creators were dropping left and right. People's favourite channels stopped uploading. Their list of favourite videos suddenly became full of deleted and privated videos. It was a mess, and it changed the land. And the world painted across the banner of this virtual inquisition, family friendly. It all really started when the platform made a major shift in focusing on content that was safe for children, or at least that seems to be the consensus. When what really kicked things off was when a certain YouTuber got busted for doing the anti-Semitic thing. I'll give you a hint.
Hey, what's up, bros?
So that made a bunch of big advertisers back out and pull their ads off the platform. Yada yada yada, some other stuff happened. Then a certain alien-hatted idiot filmed an unfortunate individual in Japan's most famous forest. So by this time, YouTube is headhunting, and they tightened their criteria to enter the partner program, which meant it just got a lot harder to get anywhere on the platform for new creators. And right before all this, they had just launched the Hero program. So now we had a narc squad running around too. Anyway, I could make a whole video on the adpocalypse. And I did, which was immediately demonetized. But the point is that this put so many of us on eggshells. It was hard to ever really tell what was acceptable and what wasn't. They were never really consistent about what was or wasn't, and they would strike some channels for one thing and pass over another channel that's twice as bad about whatever it was. We were worried that they'd arbitrarily change the policy, and we might have several videos that go against the policy, and bam, we would be screwed. So how did I respond? Well, most of you already know. Yeah, I read the comments and I see how the videos look. But the rest of you, I towed the line. A little at first. I tried to clean up my language a little, eased off the fake blood in my videos, just trying to keep from getting a strike. Because if you mess up 3 times, they just kill your channel. The whole thing gone in an instant. I'd like to say that's where I'd been ever since, but at least for me, things got worse. Over time, I started noticing myself acting like a completely different person for the channel.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
It had become my mantra. This meaningless sequence I'd ramble off at the end of every video that had started to be unrecognizable from the videos I used to love making. After a certain point, the majority of my content was me with my ass planted in a chair, playing some kind of game or watching a viral video with a camera on my desk. Now, let's be clear, I'm not talking shit about the YouTubers who mostly do that kind of stuff. Some of them are really entertaining. I personally love watching really jumpy people play really scary horror games. But for me, that just wasn't where my heart was. It wasn't what I signed up for. Eventually I found myself literally reacting to other people's reaction videos. Once the video ended and the screen went black, I caught my reflection and just didn't like what I saw. The hyper-energetic fake personality I was wearing for the video vanished, And that's the first time I had the thought. Maybe I should just quit YouTube. Get a regular job. Please keep in mind, I do well on here. I know you guys have seen my house and my cars, and you all know I have money. Not just from the ads, but from the sponsors and other endorsements on my social media. So I knew I couldn't just back out and keep being able to afford it all. And at the time, it was just a passing thought. But that, I think, was when things started to get really weird for me. Once I had wrapped up all the editing, Premiere had rendered it out, uploaded the video, I got to check my email. At the top, the very top of my Gmail, was a new message. From YouTube. That by itself wasn't the odd thing. One of those rarely mentioned changes YouTube made was forcing you to make a Gmail account to continue accessing your channel. What stood out was the title. How to Get Over YouTube Burnout. Right off the bat, I was just like, what the fuck? I'd never even heard of anyone getting this kind of email from them before. And I get one right after the first time I just think of quitting YouTube in passing. It kind of freaked me out. But I was tired, so I decided just to open it later, assuming it was just another case of Google's weird AI doing its thing. You know, like that time where Facebook knew a girl was pregnant before she did? I know Facebook and YouTube aren't exactly the same thing, but I figured if one could do something like that, then why not the other? Well, the next day came around and I got curious enough to open it. Surprisingly, or not surprisingly, depending on how you look at it, it didn't seem all that weird in its content. Just basic junk about how to keep your ideas fresh, how to help your videos trend, how to increase interaction, pretty basic, unremarkable stuff. So I just wrote the whole thing off as weird coincidence, and forgot about it over the next few days. The next odd event happened about a month later. I wasn't thinking about quitting, but I had one of those particularly bad weeks, and when it came time to make the next video, I just said, fuck it. I didn't feel like tracking down some cringy video of a Karen trashing a gas station or some new Steam game to play. I just didn't have it in me. So I just didn't make a video. I didn't make some community post about, sorry guys, no video this week because... or anything. I just wanted to do nothing. Some of you might remember this because there were a lot of subscribers who took exception to that and flew off the rails with angry comments. It was about the time those comments came flooding in that my phone beeped. It was a notification for an email. From YouTube. But I always have all the notification settings for my email turned off. Always. It's not like I turned them on for a minute and forgot to turn them back off. I never ever turn them on. They just stay off from the second I get the phone. Period. When I saw the subject, my stomach just dropped. How to deal with negative feedback. So I rolled off the couch and opened to read it. We here at Team YouTube understand that anyone can have an off day, but don't let it get to you. Hang in there and keep up the good work. Here's some suggestions on how you can push past all the negativity to keep making outstanding content for your channel. The first paragraph said. At that point, I was freaking out. That was too much to deal with right then. I got this... I don't know... weird feeling, so I go straight to my channel and make a community post and tell everyone that I'm taking a break for a while. A few weeks at least. I didn't really explain anything, and I'm sure most of you remember that post. Well, that's what it was about. I knew that I'd have enough income flowing in from the videos I'd already had up to last me a little while, but still, it took a week or two before the anxiety of not working on the next video to get it up in time started to go away. Though, once it did, it made me realize just how much stress I'd been putting on myself to pump out content and stay relevant. At some point in this hiatus, I had decided to revisit my old content. I figured I had a big enough following that I could take a chance. So I did. That afternoon, I started writing a script for a skit. It was the one about the cult leader who convinced his followers that a wood chipper was a portal to a higher dimension. and the one guy at the back of the line starts having second thoughts as he watches them dive headfirst into the chipper. Good stuff. Anyway, the reception was great. People loved it. Generally speaking. Some people didn't appreciate the graphic nature of the content, but for the most part, the feedback coming in was pretty solid. Then it got age restricted. Okay, yeah, I get that. Alright. People jumping full speed into a wood chipper, not quite fun for the whole family. So I took a deep breath and let it go. Then I got hit for real. Totally demonetized. At first. Then it got the full takedown. So, now I was pissed. After the agonizing process of getting a response from Team YouTube, only for them to tell me the content was too violent for the platform. And then I fucked up. I made the argument that more than a half of the games I played on the channel had content way more violent and graphic than that video. Like, I played a Mortal Kombat game where characters were literally torn in half down the middle like a wishbone. It didn't make any sense for them to take a video completely down for that. Well, that didn't work out like I'd hoped. The next thing I knew, my videos were getting blasted left and right. Anything with a drop of blood got hit in some kind of way. I was in full panic mode again. I didn't know what to do. They were killing my channel. Apparently only just dodging having the whole channel deleted. But I didn't get away clean. They kicked me out of the partner program completely. No more monetizing my videos at all. Several actual panic attacks later, another YouTuber friend of mine made the suggestion that I consider finally doing sponsorships. I originally never wanted to. I just didn't like the idea. If I could have made money on the site without ads, I wouldn't have done those either. But if I wanted to keep going, I had to do something. So he put me in contact with a few representatives he had worked with before. Luckily, most of them were actually happy to sponsor my content. And what was even better was that they were willing to make the kind of content I wanted to. I thought everything was going to be okay. Then I got the first email for a sponsorship and read the terms. After sorting through all the crap I was obligated to say and show for how long, I felt sick to my stomach, and the feeling didn't go away as I choked up the words.
Now I want to mention the sponsor of this video, Raid Shadow Legends.
God, I hated myself for that. I'd talked so much shit about other YouTubers saying those exact same words over the years, and now here I was, chiseling a piece of my soul off to make ends meet. After about a month of that, I'd finally started considering just quitting outright. That was when I got the email. It was from YouTube again, and the subject read, "Creating content on YouTube that doesn't have to be this painful." All I could think of was, what the fuck? Like, how could it not sound like a veiled threat? But I opened it anyway. I can't remember the exact words off the top of my head, but it basically told me that if I'd be willing to toe the line and post the things that they deemed acceptable, that they'd consider putting me back in the partner program. But the whole email had this air of something like they were strong-arming me into doing what they want. Like there was an unspoken or else behind everything they were saying. So I said, fuck 'em. I'd rather stick with the sponsors. And that's how things stayed, for a while. Then after a few more months, suddenly I got an email from one of the representatives saying the sponsor they represented was dropping me. They wouldn't say why. No matter how hard I pressed, I couldn't get an actual reason out of them beyond, they're just going in a different direction. But in the middle of that turmoil, I got another email from another representative saying they were dropping me too. And then another, and another. I was back to freaking out, not knowing what to do or where to turn or even what to think for hours. I was literally in tears. But once I'd finally calmed down a little, I gathered my thoughts and decided to track down the contact information of people who actually worked at the companies who had been sponsoring my channel. My first attempt was by using the support from the official sites for all the sponsors. Usually, if you say you're having some kind of issue with the product or something, you have a better chance of someone actually reading the email, which means you're more likely to get a response. And I did get a few, but they didn't go anywhere. So I trolled around and got the information of a few of the PR and HR workers. I got in touch with a few, but they all gave me the same bullshit answer as the representatives did. That was, until I got a random email from an ambiguous, anonymous address. The subject just said, "You aren't supposed to know this, but..." So I opened it. It was written really matter-of-factly, I guess to hide anything that might give away who it was through the way they typed and the words they normally used. It basically said, "We have a blacklist, only the executives know who makes it. You're on it now, so we had to pull the sponsorship. We do not know why any more than you do, but my best guess, probably YouTube, Google, or even Alphabet." And then it just ended. And that was it. I was bowing out. I threw my hands up, literally, and decided I was done with YouTube and all their bullshit. I would finish the last video I'd already started. Then I'd upload it, give everyone a few days to enjoy it, and then make the announcement I was leaving YouTube forever. So I used the project to keep my head on straight for the next few days, like a distraction from such a big lifestyle change as suddenly as ending my YouTube career and getting a more regular, average Joe job. I did just that. We got everything done and put the video up, not worrying about ads or sponsors or anything like that. For that brief moment, it felt like old YouTube again. Just making a video because I had an idea and wanted to share it with the world. It was such a pure moment as the video went up and the comments started flowing in. I gave myself a few days before recording the goodbye video, but eventually it had to be done. So after a few takes, I finally made it through one without choking up, did a little editing, and went to upload it. Which didn't work. The damn thing wouldn't upload. It'd get to 99 and just shit the bed. After I don't know how many tries and fails, I gave up. I'd already broken into the liquor cabinet when I got another email from YouTube. So the subject matter this time, which was more than strange, just said, "Consider this your final warning." That was the last straw. I'd already been bullied out of my career, but I wasn't about to let them blatantly threaten me. But when I went to take a screenshot, my phone froze, and then crashed. When I turned it back on and went straight back to my emails, not only was that email gone, but every other single email I'd ever got from YouTube was gone. Wiped clean like they were never even there. But the emails didn't stop after that. Now they were just coming from random addresses. "Comply or drastic action will be taken. Further attempts to leave YouTube will be met with appropriate action. You will have one more opportunity to revamp your channel to better meet YouTube guidelines." These were just what some of them said. Every time I tried to screenshot any of them, my phone would just freeze and crash. The next day I got a letter in the mail. No return address. It wasn't even addressed to me. The paper inside was even blank. It was like they just wanted me to know how close they were to me or something to make me nervous. Like how would I prove to the world they just put a blank envelope in a mailbox? But I would know. Well, it worked. I was fucking set. I didn't sleep for days. Every sound made me jump. Anytime something moved in the corner of my eye, I was suspicious of its motive. I was a wreck for almost a week. My phone almost always in a different room and on silent because the emails and notifications would just not stop. Every day I walked out to the mailbox, there was just another blank letter inside. Until they started showing up on my floor where they'd been slid under the front door. That made me really wish I had a doorbell camera. I'd stopped leaving my house altogether before long. I got all my meals delivered to me and that was all the human interaction I had. the informal thanks I'd give them as they handed me the bag and turned to walk back down the driveway. That had become my life. I was hunkered down in my home, teetering on the verge of a mental breakdown. Then one day I woke up after I fell asleep on the couch the night before. I walked up to the room where I'd recorded my playthrough and reaction stuff, and my YouTube plaques were all sitting upright on the desk, almost looking at me as I walked in. I didn't do that. I put them all on the wall behind my desk and left them there. I never touched them after that. Someone had come into my house, snuck into my office and put them there. That was it. I left my house right then and fast. I threw some stuff into my car, one of the more vintage ones with no tracking device or GPS or anything, and tore down the road with my phone off and the battery and SIM out. About 200 miles later, I stopped at a drugstore to buy a prepaid phone and a few different prepaid debit cards. Once I was done there, I found a cheap motel and took cash and holed up in a room. And that's where I'm doing this live stream from. I put a new VPN and anti-tracking software on my phone that I'd paid for with the debit cards I got from the drugstore. And once I'm done with this, I'm going to move around for a little while and see if whatever's going on with YouTube dies down. I'm really sorry to have to tell you guys like this. You've all helped make my life awesome, and I wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for you, especially the ones who were there from the start. Thank you all so much for everything. I'll miss you guys. Oh, wait a second. That's the food guy. Just 1 second, let me just go get that. Yeah, thanks for the food. What the fuck?
Sorry about that, everyone. Anyway, thanks for joining me in this live stream. I hope you all enjoyed this horror reading brought to you by Joshua Wagner. An awesome read. I just need to make a quick announcement that from here on out, us here at the channel will be making a shift towards more family-friendly content. I know that you'll all understand because you're all such wonderful viewers. That's it for this one, guys. But don't forget to show your love and support for the channel. Merch links in the comment description below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.